Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So, this Saturday, I found a very interesting interview between Bloomberg and Michael Saylor. And this one, I think, is the best one of all of them. Because rather than ask the boring, same old questions, Michael Saylor was asked some difficult questions. And I believe he answered beautifully. But during one part of this interview, he mentions how he talks often with Elon. Often. And what did they talk about? Well, let's take a look at this interview. It's a really good watch. So I want to watch it with you guys together and just share my overall thoughts. So thanks for tuning in. As always, smash a like, subscribe to the channel. 2 streams every day. Although sometimes a little late on weekends, 11:30 and 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So make sure you follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, CryptosRUs.com, and that's it. And hit that notification bell. All right, let's do this, guys. Welcome. Let me change my screen here. All right, so Bitcoin is around 31.3, slightly lower than last night. Last night, in case you guys didn't watch, I was building out a crypto portfolio from scratch, and I utilized CMC's crypto portfolio builder. So looking at it, it's at 49.13. Started with 5,000, so we're slightly down about $80. Okay, so overall, not too bad. But this is something that I want to continue on with you guys. I built it out from scratch. So many of you guys that are coming into the space, you're getting in for the first time, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to build out your portfolio, especially with this 50-25-25 rule. Make sure you check out that video last night. And over time, every week, I want dollar cost average into this and add a little bit, and let's see what happens by the end of this year. What this 5,000 plus the dollar cost average will equate to by the end of 2021. All right, so right now we're down $78. $78. Not too bad. Not too bad. But overall market is still kind of iffy right now, and I say iffy, and that's because just seems like a lot of fear still, right? There's a lot of fear. There's more and more talks, more and more articles about how we're heading into a crypto winter. How Bitcoin and crypto overall is going to see a lot of weakness and it's just not going to go anywhere. There's no interest and all this stuff. Like even on Twitter, email, I get constantly asked. Even despite the fact that I have all these videos, I get constantly asked, George, did you see this article? Did you see this new thing, right? So this is exactly the type of question that Michael Saylor got asked during this interview. Right? There's a lot of people that's wondering, hey, Michael, how are you dealing with the Bitcoin downtrend, right? When he got in, Bitcoin was barely above 10,000 and things were looking very nice on the way up, right? But since then, all of his buys has come down, but it doesn't matter to him. He's just dollar cost averaging, right? And he was asked, do you lose sleep over this? And what do you think, right? I think I have the same mentality as Michael, and basically, Bitcoin is definitely an asset investment that you're getting into for a long haul. You have to ignore short-term volatility because it serves no purpose. The bigger grand scheme, the bigger picture for Bitcoin is so much bigger than what people can imagine right now, and this is still only getting started. And with that said, I don't believe that this run is anywhere near the top. Let's not forget that we have countries that's about to onboard their millions of citizens with Bitcoin and everyone else that's still getting involved, right? So let's take a look at this video together. It's about 12 minutes long, and I honestly think this is one of the best ones I've seen because for Michael Saylor's interviews, if you watch all the previous ones, it's basically everyone asking the same question. Why do you like Bitcoin? Why do you keep buying Bitcoin? And what do you, it's like the same type of stuff. No one's asking him the difficult questions until this one. He was asked many difficult questions. So let's look at it together and let me chime in and give you my thoughts on basically what he's saying, whether or not I agree, and maybe give you some further analysis. All right, let's do this. Let's do this, everyone that's tuned in. Get ready. I'll put my headphone. I don't know why you would need to get ready, but just get ready anyways. All right, I have my setup ready.
Clearly,
okay.
You've bought the dip, but what if it's not a dip? How much have you considered the possibility that this is part of a prolonged slide?
Well, we think the primary dynamic is the China exodus. There's a forced and there's a rushed exodus of capital and mining from China that was a bit of a surprise that kicked off in May. And that's driving the dynamic in the market right now. Our strategy is long-term. 10 years ago, I met with you, Emily, and I talked about the mobile wave. And the mobile wave was the dematerialization of music falling to the Apple iPhone and then turning books into iBooks. If you want to give music to 5 billion people, you got to take the music out of the CDs. And if you want to give books and education to 5 billion people, you have to take the words out of the book and you got to dematerialize the library. Bitcoin is the dematerialization of property. We're sucking the value out of gold and real estate and other property assets and collectibles and art. We're putting them on a blockchain. We're giving it to the people. It's a long-term trend. It's 1,000,000 times more efficient than hauling your property around on your back. And if you want to give property rights to 5 billion people, you need Bitcoin to do it and a smartphone. So it's a technology play for us. And we're very confident that over the next decade, 5 billion people are going to have property on a smartphone, and Bitcoin is going to be the primary blockchain that's used to do that.
All right. So, couple things. Number one is Michael Saylor's also contributing or basically concluding that the recent volatility is due to the Chinese miners being kicked out. He's going to talk more about this further in this interview. But I do agree with that, because I've been talking about this FUD about how Chinese miners are getting pushed out. There's a lot of worry, right? They could be selling off some Bitcoin because they need to pay for relocation for their new facility, whatever, new miners that they may need to buy. So there may be some weakness. We have seen, we might see some sell-off. We have seen the hash rate for Bitcoin come down significantly. So it does correlate with that, right? But I like to remind you guys, this is a fantastic thing. This is a gift. Just like buying the dips are a gift, Chinese miners getting pushed out of China is a gift. It's really a good thing. There's too much being made over this. That's a negative thing, but this is really fantastic. Now you have more decentralization of Bitcoin mining around the world, and they're getting pushed to more renewable and green energy. So this is fantastic. But short term, I definitely agree that this has something to do with not only with the media-driven FUD, but also could be that some of them are just selling off Bitcoin because they need to pay. They have large mining farms with like thousands or tens of thousands of machines that they need to move and so forth. It costs money. So I think it does definitely contribute to what we're seeing right now. Also, what Michael Saylor said is brilliant. I mean, he always has these new analogies or bigger picture type of things, right? If you're trying to decentralize property, or I should say financial property, to 5 billion people, I mean, what better way to do it than blockchain and Bitcoin, right? But he talks about 10 years. 10 years from right now, I don't even know how many people own Bitcoin. It's probably less than 1 million. Probably less than 1 million in the world. So you're going from 1 million to 5 billion, okay, within 10 years. 10 years may seem like, oh, it's so far off. No, blink of an eye, 10 years here, right? And imagine when Bitcoin is divided up among 5 billion people rather than 1 million. So think about that. Supply keeps going down over the next 10 years with the halving events. And demand keeps going up, right? So again, Bitcoin is a long-term investment. Short-term, there might be volatility. It may suck, right? But long-term, we know where Bitcoin is heading. All right, let's continue.
Michael, I went back to that interview from 2012 to prepare for this one. I remember it. But speaking of smartphones, give us the truth. I mean, how often are you checking your phone and checking the price? Are you losing sleep? Do you meditate? Do you have a stiff drink when the price goes down?
Well, look, I'm not a trader. If I was a trader, I'd have anxiety. That's a difficult job. I'm a technology believer.
Okay, I just want to stop real quick. I don't want to interrupt him so much, but yes, I 100% agree. This is why I stress holding. Dollar cost averaging and holding. It's a lot less stress. It's you don't have to be glued to your portfolio every single second. I know most of you guys tuned in. You're still doing that anyways, even though you're a holder. But man, it's not worth it. And especially if you're trying to trade with leverage, that amplifies the stress level like as much as the leverage is giving you, right? So it's like if you're using 100x leverage, your stress level goes up 100x. This is why holding, like what he's saying, it's better. And he's not losing any sleep over it.
I bought Facebook before it came public. I bought Apple when it was a couple dollars a share. I held it a decade. This is a 1 decade long trend. MicroStrategies acquired all this Bitcoin with a combination of equity and debt, but the debt is all long-term debt. It's either unsecured convertible bonds that run 5-6 years or secured debt against our cash flows of our software business. We don't mark anything to market. So we're not really concerned about short-term price fluctuations. In 6 or 7 years, yeah, I expect Bitcoin to be higher than it is today. And how it gets there, it'll be volatile.
Now, I know you haven't been a fan of altcoins in the past, but are you considering holding other cryptocurrencies beside Bitcoin? Are you already holding them? If so, which ones?
The way that we look at the digital ecosystem is you've got digital property. That's like owning a block of Cyber Manhattan. You're just owning the Granite City block. 1 Bitcoin is a block in Cyber Manhattan. Then you've got digital currencies like Tether. They're currencies. There's not much upside. They're just going to be regulated like money market funds in cyberspace. And then you've got digital applications, and they're trying to dematerialize insurance companies and exchanges and banks. They're kind of like the buildings on top of the Granite City block or the business in the building. It's a different thing, you know. If I went to Vegas, I would just want to buy all the land in Vegas. Somebody else might want to build the hotels, the casinos. That's not for us. It's a complicated business. It's a little bit more competitive. We're waiting for a bit more regulatory clarity. If you're going to be an insurance company in cyberspace, there's probably insurance issues or trading issues. We've adopted a very simple strategy. Buy 105,000 blocks of Bitcoin in Cyber Manhattan. We think it's going to be good for hundreds of years, and one day billions of people will want to live there.
All right. So I mentioned before about Michael Saylor turning the corner on altcoins because he used to be just a 100% Bitcoin maximalist. Didn't really bash altcoins, but he did say that's just, you know, he's unsure of things. And then recently he's conducted interviews where he said that, you know what, he made the same analogy. Bitcoin is like the foundation, like buying Manhattan, but like DeFi is like the banks and stocks, stockbrokers and stuff like that on top of it, and stable coins is another form, right? So it sounds like he hasn't decided that he's going to get into DeFi. But I'm still thinking, because he's holding for long term, right? He mentioned 6 years, 10 years down the road. DeFi will be very, very different in a couple years, even versus now. I really think that he's going to turn the corner, and he's not bearish on it. He's not negative towards it, right? So that's the beauty. That's the great thing, because, hey, we're in it for a long haul. A lot of things can change. And I do think eventually he's going to turn the corner and say, you know what, I'm going to get into, not only do I have Manhattan blocks, I now own the banks on top of those Manhattan blocks, which could be Ethereum or Cardano or Solana. I think most likely it's will gravitate towards Ethereum because it's the second biggest, right? But it's refreshing to hear that Bitcoin maximalists not bash altcoins, right? As much as I respect Max Kaiser, like he does that exactly. and others in the same space does that, right? I feel like they're trying to protect Bitcoin in a way by bashing altcoins. There's no need for that. They could all, it's all part of the same ecosystem, right? And we wish almost everything goes up in tandem. I say almost, and you guys know which ones I don't like, but still, I think it's, as a whole, we need to just support each other. All right, let's continue.
But why not then, and this is a question coming in right now from a terminal user, buy other more energy efficient forms of crypto? Are you considering that?
Well, we actually think that the way that Bitcoin mining works is the most energy efficient way to create a trusted digital property network. It's you put in $1, you get out $200 of value on Bitcoin. If Google puts in $1 of energy, they get out $10 of value. It's in fact the most energy efficient industry in the world, and the amount of energy that it uses is a few basis points of the amount of energy used in the civilization. So I'm not concerned about the energy use. There's no more efficient way to do it. If I wanted to run a centralized application, I could do it with less energy, but there's no way that you can create digital property that's going to last for hundreds of years outside of the control of a CEO, a government, or a country that has integrity and durability without using energy.
So what side of the bit?
Just real quick. This is one of the greatest debates out there. Proof of work versus proof of stake, right? And many people believe that proof of work is the better form to store value like Bitcoin. And that's because the cost of entry, right, is very, very, very high. So meaning that it secures the network, meaning that if you're trying to do like a 51% attack or something like that, it is impossible because of how much hash power is needed and how much money is needed to run the hash power to do so, which is why it's arguable. Yeah, Bitcoin's network is arguably the safest network right now. So I think this is an ongoing thing in terms of energy usage versus proof of stake kind of coins that basically take very little energy, but most of them are relatively new, not as proven, not as secure, because it's very easy to take over and create a bunch of nodes and try to do like a 51% attack or try to do a reorg or rewrite or whatever, right? That's the argument that's been ongoing for quite some time. But I generally do believe what Michael Saylor is saying is correct, because even, for those of you guys that are Cardano fans, even this new project Ergo that Charles really loves and supports, Ergo is in DeFi, and they're all about financial systems and payment systems and so forth. Even they chose to go with proof of work with the same argument that proof of work is more secure for store values. And even Charles, I believe, said that is the case. So there's a lot. Even not every new coin is going to proof of stake. Even some are electing to go with proof of work for the same argument.
Coin, if you will. Do you consider yourself relative to Elon Musk?
What side of the Bitcoin?
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
How would you describe your position on Bitcoin relative to Elon Musk?
My position on Bitcoin is it's the dominant digital property network in the world. It's won that race, and if what you want to own is digital property for the long term, then you just buy and hold Bitcoin. I think that Elon Musk also sees Bitcoin as a great store of value, and it's a monetary inflation hedge, and he has expressed concerns about the need to invest balance sheet assets as a monetary inflation hedge. He's got many other businesses that he also evangelizes and is very enthusiastic about. I'm a bit more focused on Bitcoin, I believe.
I know you've been on at least one call together about energy. Are you guys in touch? I mean, do you speak often?
We do. We do.
And what do you talk?
There we go. That's what you've been waiting for. He was asked, and a lot of us are wondering, does he talk with Elon outside of Twitter? Does he have regular conversations with Elon? And his answer is yes. They talk often. this is the interesting thing. This is the very interesting thing. So, like I said yesterday and several times before, Elon, I'm sorry, I called him by wrong name, Elon, he does do a lot of trollish things, right? But recently we saw Jack kind of turn it back to him and kind of forced him to do this new conference together. And Michael Saylor, in a way, has started doing that too. So it could be one of those things where now they just realize they're all talking, that you can't take him serious on Twitter. But on the phone call behind the scenes, he's actually very serious about Bitcoin. That's what it seems like. Well, I'll let you listen to this.
Talk about.
And Elon's been very enthusiastic about Bitcoin and also about making sure that Bitcoin's a force to drive sustainable energy usage in the world. And I think he's talked about that a bit. I've organized the Bitcoin Mining Council so that we can promote energy transparency and communicate the energy usage of Bitcoin and also show how sustainable it is. In fact, one of the things we found is that the Bitcoin industry is using more sustainable energy than any other industry, and it's getting more sustainable at a more rapid rate. So we look forward to sharing some of those findings shortly with the public.
Let's talk about the crackdown in China on Bitcoin mining. What does this mean for the longer term?
Well, China had 50% market share of Bitcoin, and they were generating $10 billion a year in a business that was growing 100% a year over year. And the government cracked down on it, and they squeezed the entire industry out of China. I think that given the growth rate of Bitcoin, this will prove to be $1 trillion mistake for China. So it's a tragedy for Chinese miners. It's a geopolitical mistake for China, the country, but I suppose they can afford to make $1 trillion mistake. It's a nuisance and a dislocation for Bitcoin in the near term. You see the trading volatility. It squeezed a lot of people a lot of Chinese had to sell Bitcoin and under forcible liquidations with a time frame because they have to get out of the country and all their loans got called. And so that's been a big opportunity for Western investors. Companies like mine bought Bitcoin in the 30,000 range. We would have paid double, maybe triple to buy the Bitcoin if it hadn't been for the China exodus. So we got a benefit from that.
Real quick, Michael Saylor just admitted that had Bitcoin not gone down, had Bitcoin continued to go up from 60 to 90, 100,000 plus, he would have still continued to buy Bitcoin. That's how bullish he is, right? But obviously when things are down, it's a gift. But he did mention something that's interesting that I haven't heard anyone else say before, is that some of the Chinese miners were forced to liquidate because their loans and so forth. They had to pay back their loans to also get out of the country and so forth, right? So that's been what I kind of been saying, that some of these miners may have been selling off to move out of the country, but I didn't hear about some of them were forced to liquidate to pay back their loans and obligations and so forth. So that's interesting. But anyways, it kind of shows you, right? Dollar cost averaging doesn't just have to be on the way down. Of course, that's a big plus. But dollar cost averaging is, when you do it over long haul, you take the price out of the equation. You just go and set a schedule. And it seems like Michael Saylor's doing that, except he's liking the gift that the miners have presented.
And it's a great windfall, Emily, for North American Bitcoin miners because their costs are the same and they're going to generate 50% more revenue or 75% more revenue for quite a while because the Chinese industry has been taken offline.
Now, still, it seems like there's no impetus for a rally on the horizon. Chances are a Bitcoin ETF not getting approved this year. Regulators in the U.S. are also going to tighten up. What drives Bitcoin from here exactly? And when? When do we come out of this?
There's a delay. If you roll the clock back 6 months to 9 months, mainstream media didn't cover the story and people were uncertain about what would happen. Biden being elected president was good for Bitcoin. Gary Gensler taking over the SEC was good for Bitcoin. The new class of regulators are progressive. They're more enlightened. They're more educated on Bitcoin. I think that you will in time see a Bitcoin ETF. You've seen Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs and most major banks start to trade in Bitcoin and Bitcoin derivatives and offer Bitcoin mutual funds. There's an avalanche of banks that are going to be offering Bitcoin services. And of course, Coinbase came public, and Square and Coinbase are between them, adding millions of new Bitcoin holders every month. And so you just got to be patient and look at the long-term technology trend, which is, do you believe in iBooks, and do you believe in the iCloud, and do you believe in big tech? Because if you believe those things, the next logical thing to get dematerialized is property on 5 billion mobile phones. Just a matter of time.
Again, Michael stresses you just have to have patience. I mean, honestly, that's what it is. The price of admission to Bitcoin and crypto is volatility. I picked that up recently. It just makes a whole lot of sense. That is the price of admission. Making life-changing wealth, making tremendous gains doesn't come without a cost. And that cost is volatility. And as long as you can stand that cost, then you're going to do just fine. Focus on the future. Focus on the future. He summed up everything that we need to know. PayPal, Square, and everyone else that's getting involved is bringing millions and millions of users into this space. And let's not forget about derivatives like Bitcoin ETF and so forth that will bring more institutions involved, right? Get them into this space. And let's not forget about countries, which he didn't mention. Countries, El Salvador, Paraguay, and Colombia, Brazil, Nigeria. I mean, they're all coming into the space. And companies like MicroStrategy continues to buy more and more Bitcoin, right? So you don't want to focus on short term. You want to focus on long term. Therefore, you need to have patience. Patience.
Now, I think people forget sometimes that MicroStrategy is a software company in and of itself, and yet it has become a sort of proxy for investors wanting to get into Bitcoin. Do you see that at all as a risk to MicroStrategy shares?
Well, Emily, our stock was $120 a share, and we had $60 a share in cash that was generating zero yield. If we had returned all the cash to the shareholders, we'd have a $60 stock, and the company would be growing 5% a year. Instead, we converted the cash through a series of Dutch auctions, share buybacks, and stock and debt offerings into a company we're now growing our top line 10% in the last quarter. The stock is up by a factor of 5. We've made billions of dollars for our shareholders, and we have $3.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. If it goes up 20% a year, we'll make more off the Bitcoin than we could have made in a decade off of the existing business. So yeah, it's different. There's some volatility, but the stock sometimes moves more in a day than we could have hoped it to be at all. So I think our shareholders have benefited, our employees are happy, our customers are happy, and it's a different thing. But, we'd rather be winning with something different than be sitting at $60 a share with no hope.
See, that is also interesting. Basically, that's why this interview is so awesome. Like, he answered everything that people want to know about, right? Like, okay, so yes, we know you're like a big Bitcoin bull. What about MicroStrategy? Like, what is the future? Why focus so much on Bitcoin? And he just stated it right there. Had he never gotten into Bitcoin, had MicroStrategy never gotten into Bitcoin, this company would be flat, completely flat, non-moving. And again, people focus on, well, MicroStrategy was up here and now it's down here. But he's like, just go back. Just go back where we were when we first started versus now. The stock is like 3-4 times higher, right? And now they have, 3.5 billion of Bitcoin on the balance sheet when they started out with zero? Imagine what he's saying. Next 5-10 years, the Bitcoin, or each Bitcoin goes up to $1 million in 10 years. What does that go equate? That's going to equate to like trillions. MicroStrategy will become one of the biggest companies on earth just from their Bitcoin holdings. So this is part of the business intelligence that the company, or I should say business intelligence of Michael Saylor is, right. Like he's playing a long game. I think most people play the short game. They worry about quarter to quarter, what their stock is going to do. Michael Saylor knows that this ultimately is going to drive not only himself, but MicroStrategy to the stratosphere, right? By holding and buying Bitcoin. It's just brilliant if you think about it. It really is.
Any plan to use more debt to buy Bitcoin? And if so, what kind of debt?
Our approach is always to do every financing accretive. So when our stock was 120, we bought it back at 140 to buy Bitcoin. When our stock got to 300, we sold a convert at 398 to buy Bitcoin. When our stock was 1,000, we did a convert at $1,432 a share to buy Bitcoin. When the stock came back to 500, 450, we didn't want to dilute with equity or convert, so we did a senior secured financing, paid 6 1/8% interest, and we bought Bitcoin. Now, the way that the Bitcoin market moves, the way that the senior debt markets move, and the way the convert debt markets move are uncertain. The one thing that we can be certain of is that if we do another financing, we're going to make sure it's accretive to all classes of security holders within the company.
To sum up, yes. Yeah, I didn't understand any of that. I just knew. I just know that he sold a lot to buy Bitcoin. He kept selling to buy Bitcoin, meaning his shares. And he's going to continue to keep buying Bitcoin. He already announced before that he was going to sell up to $1 billion of the stock to buy more Bitcoin. The man is on a mission. Okay, this is what we need to strive to. Like we need to have the discipline and patience and the conviction and the patience that Michael Saylor has. We really need to do that. He is basically going all in no matter what the price is saying right now. He's focused on the future, and he's taking advantage of what he has right now to go all in on Bitcoin. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
So there was an if there. That could happen?
Our strategy, Emily, is definitely to acquire and to hold Bitcoin and to do it with our existing cash flows. And we generate $115 million in EBITDA cash flow in the last 12 months. We'll do it that way. And we'll also do it with future debt financings and equity financings to the extent that they're accretive.
All right, that's it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I did. I think that is the best interview that Michael Saylor has done so far. And hopefully I can get him on the channel. I'm still talking to his people about getting him on the channel. And I have other great questions that no one else has asked before. So hopefully I could get him on, right? I mean, honestly, what else is there to say, right? Everything I've been saying, pretty much Michael Saylor has been saying and agrees with, right? You have to just focus on long term. You know, price of admission is volatility, right? But some of you guys, you have been through it before. You have seen worse times, including myself. We have seen worse times, but I think people only focus on the fact that, yeah, we're only down, you know, from 64,000 to where we are now, 31,000. No one focused on the fact that we went from 3,800 to where we are now, right? There's too many people that always look at glass half empty, not half full. Bitcoin is nowhere near done. We have so much more potential. Maybe we have to wait it out a little bit longer, right? Maybe we do go sideways a little bit longer. Maybe we hover here in this range for another month or two, right? But we know Bitcoin will pick up itself. It's not going to stop. All the traction and momentum is still here. Retail investors are smarter now, more savvy, especially you guys that continue to tune in, right? You're getting educated and smarter, and you're building that patience and the obedience and the conviction to keep moving forward, right? And all the services, the banks, the everything else that's coming aboard, countries that's coming aboard, is only going to add to the fuel. Add to the fire, I should say. They're all fuel for the fire. And Bitcoin will continue. So Be patient. Be patient. All right, I do have to go, so I'm going to do some very, very, very quick Q&A, and then I'm going to let you guys go. G-Main, saw that super chat. Thank you. Thoughts on South American countries BTC using BTC as legal tender? That's what we want. I mean, one after another. Paraguay is following suit. There's another article about Colombia now that's getting into DeFi, but they could be doing the same thing. I mean, countries getting involved is such a big thing. It's a really big thing. Millions of citizens soon will have access to Bitcoin and a mobile wallet and be able to use it as money. I mean, you can't discount how big that is. It's a start. It's a start of something really fantastic. Alex, if you had to put 3K into one coin right now, what would it be? Bitcoin. But if you're trying to break up and make a new portfolio, look at the video that I created, which is this. I broke it up. These are all my favorite coins right now. I actually ran out of money because I was saying I was only going to do 5,000. So you could see it's broken up 50% in Bitcoin, and then you have a large portion on Cardano, ETH, and VET, and Matic, Chainlink, Solana, Theta, BNB, even a little bit of Doge, and finally BPRO. But there is a lot more that I didn't cover. So every week I'm going to add to this. I'm going to dollar cost average about $100 every week and build from there. Right? This is a long term. This is a long journey. So we're going to see where it ends up by the end of the year. Can you invite Phantom to the channel? Well, if you have a connection, send them over here. Send them over here. Thoughts on where we'll be in 6 months? Way, way higher. I would say in 6 months by the end of the year, I still believe Bitcoin's going to be above 6 digits. It's going to be above 100,000. I think that is definitely on the table. Kasim, thank you for that. What else? What else is there? Financial Fundamentals says, I'm heavy on Cardano. Should I sell and rebalance 50, 25, 25? I mean, I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, you have to decide, but having 50% in Bitcoin is definitely not a bad idea right now. Gives you that stability and, growth. When Bitcoin bounces back really hard, sometimes you see liquidity drain out from the altcoins. So that could be around the corner. Juan, thank you for that. That's why I'm here to do. Is Michael Saylor George? Maybe. If he comes on the channel, I'm going to try to make him say that. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to try to make him say that. Anyways, all right. Last few questions. Elrond. I like Elrond. How much percent you think 30K is the bottom for Bitcoin? I say it's pretty good. Pretty good percent. I mean, we tend to we came down a little bit and came right back up and bounced up through there. I don't know. I say 50. No, I say 75%. 75%. Why sell pumping over everything else? I don't know. Maybe it got added to some exchange or something like that. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. As always, smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and tune in tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right? I have not heard of Hanzo in Inu, so... And I don't like it. I don't even like Shiba. Why would I look at something that's a fork of that or a copy of that? All right. Take care, guys.